Hello everybody. My stream should start to load. Unfortunately no camera today. Yes, I can see notifications coming in on my phone, so I should be live. I just want to post a link in Discord so people can find me, and I will get started making some atmospheres. Let me just load this real quick. Get shareable link. There we are. Paste that there. Have a beer. So it's time to work on some atmospheres and make some samples. Let's get into this. I've been doing quite a lot. I think when we left off we had not finished the C pack. So now what I've done is I've done D sharp all the way. I'm going for 31 samples in the D sharp category, in the D sharp key. And then I started with G, where I have 14. And that's it. So we need to finish G, also around 30-35 samples, and then I just need to finish G sharp, and hopefully I can get that done within either this upcoming week or the week after that. I've also been working on projector quality kicks. Which are kick sounds, and they're the kick sounds where I spend like half an hour per kick really trying to get the tone just right and just you know, get the exact quality that I'm going for in terms of like EQ, the amount of compression that I want on it, stuff like that. And I often like do the clicks and whatever. So this is kicks that I spent a lot of time making. So that's also a fun project, and that should also be a fun product for you guys. I'm hoping to get around 40 kicks for that. And then the product after that would be the risers and downlifters pack, where I need to do 38. Here I started, and I think I need to do the downers, but the risers here pretty much done. And then 150 BPM is completely finished. If risers, downlifters, a lot of stuff. So that's all pretty good. I hope you guys can see it all. I have my chat closed. Here you are. Today only Atmos sounds. Yes. Yes, only atmospheres. At least that's the plan. I just want to make some progress on the pack. So I can get that out and get that ready for you guys. So, you know the setup. I'll quickly run it down again. What we do, you can ignore all of these old tracks. These are all of the samples that we've already made. This is the current list of samples that I'm working on. These are also already saved and finished and in the pack here. So they're all already exported. But the way we make them is we have this group here, which is the effects group, which is just a high pass at 100 Hz. And my Ambience Rack, which adds delay and reverb, mainly reverb, to any sound that goes through it. So I don't have to worry about any reverb and delay, and they all kind of have the same tone, which makes the samples nice and cohesive. And then we have just a spectrum to see the spectrum. I guess I can remove that, it's not really necessary. And then here we do our individual synthesis. And the whole idea for me for these packs and this kind of synthesis is that it's a really cool way for me to experiment with different synthesis ideas. So I'll use wavetables that I've never used, I'll use techniques that I've never used, and I kind of want to continue that trend today. So let's just open up Serum here. And what I want to do for the first one is to work with these remap functions here. It might be cool to either remap directly onto the wave, or we'll do like an AM or an RM, something that I not really often use, and then remap on here, say maybe a 2. What I am looking for is how this remap differs from this. This just shifts one like backwards and the other forwards, right? It shifts them inwards. Number 3 is kind of a strange thing here, and then number 4. I can not see the exact waveform, but it looks like one is going back and the other is going forward, which is pretty strange. I would have hoped that it would do them on the whole waveform, but I guess you could achieve that by just creating this waveform yourself. The remap function, what it does is imagine like 2 time axes here. So this is one time axis and this is another time axis. And I think the below one is the time axis before, and the after one is the time axis after it. With the remap 1, it's easiest to see. So if I move this up, it will move everything forward, because everything is moved more towards the high end of the time axis here. You can basically say, okay, from this point in time, we're going to this point in time, right? It doesn't actually show you the axes, but that's kind of how you read this graph. So it remaps different points of time to other points of time, hence the name remap. And you can do cool things like, if I set this up like this and then hold Alt, you can basically create the band minus, I think, and then this would be the band plus mode, right? Something like that. It's not entirely correct, I think. Might be some issues with where exactly it puts the point, but you kind of see how this is like the same as the remap or the band minus thing, right? Something like that. I even think that all of the other, or most of these other, maybe like pulse width mod, asymmetrical stuff like that, that's all implemented via a remap function and not really like hard coded, I think. Because looking at how it, when we set it to like band minus, how it shifts around this point, you see how the click point of the saw kind of moves around. It doesn't stay the exact same place. It does the same here with the remap function. It kind of moves it to a different location based on where you set this point here. Kind of looks the same as the band plus or the band minus, whatever it is. So first of all, let's select a simpler wavetable. Let's go with a sine. So I can mess with it and just listen to what it sounds like. For now, I'm going to turn off our delay and reverb, and then we'll just listen to what we get here. So we're going in G. Kind of hear how it creates saw wave harmonics this way. You can almost see how it does, how it kind of creates the same waveform, right? The one up here and then in the middle. Kind of a nice aggressive sound there. What we can do now is we can set this to we set it render os b warp, and that sets the remap to the wavetable position. And then we could go further. Can change up this remap curve a little bit. Mess around with some of the points, positions, kind of at random. Kind of like that. Now, if we want to do this again, I think you have to resample. But we need to set this up. I believe it's 1/4. Let's set this to envelope, and then we'll resample to oscillator A. It might be a bit longer, so if I do this, resample to oscillator A, you get a nice wavetable. So it's a bar long if you want to resample, because now we cannot do the warp to wavetable render, because then it overrides whatever wavetable we already have, and it just takes the first frame, which is not what we want. So now you would need to do like the resampling that we did here. But you get this cool wavetable out of it, which is pretty nice. I'm gonna save this. I just give them random names. I'm planning to do a wavetable pack at some point in the future, maybe. I've done a few wavetables in Vital as well, and I might turn that into one large like wavetable pack at some point. It's not like actively on my mind right now, but it is something that would be fun to do in the future. If I set this to 0, we should still hear yeah. We're using ring modulation. You would go for amplitude modulation instead. And instead of doing ring modulation like that, what we could do is just set macros here for all of these and then move them around within the atmosphere that we're designing. Now that we have like the cool tone coming out of this, with the Ambience Rack going to sound wild, could maybe go like down here, give it a bit more in the middle, and then we'll leave this for the end. And then maybe the second macro is the FM amount, so we could go in the middle here, up a little bit. How I usually make these is I set random points, and then I just decide if everything sounds good, I'll record it, and if not, then I make the modifications that we need. I'll probably start low and then just have it mumble around like here, and then go up. Bit of lower curve to make it sound maybe a little bit tamer. And then this final one is the final remap. Let's maybe add some key points. Just give it a whole bunch of extra tone there, because that brings out a lot of the metallic extra harmonics feeling. Something like this maybe. Let's see. That might be cool. It's a little bit lacking in movement, I would say. We could definitely go up and down a bit more. What we could also do is have this in there as well sometimes. It would like just go. I hope it's not too loud. For me it is a little bit, so I'm turning my own volume down. If in regards with my voice and everything, if you can still hear me when this thing is playing or something, then it should be okay. Otherwise, let me just know if I should turn up either my voice or turn down the desktop. I can do that here. Let's see, what I wanted to do is I wanted to push this through a bit of distortion. And I'm thinking like a little bit of diode like this. Because this has a little bit of like zero clipping or zero squaring kind of feel, right? Which means that it's going to distort mostly at the very low volumes, and therefore it glues everything a little bit more together. Very nice and aggressive sound. I'm getting a few messages. I just want to turn my phone off real quick. Spotify for Artists. Projector had 28 listeners this month. Nice. That's all you guys. Oh yeah, so a fun thing here is most people see this and they see like the clipping that's obviously happening here, right, as a bad thing. And I got an email about this right before I started this stream of somebody who was like still in the idea that this that you still cannot go over 0 dB anywhere within the DAW, so anywhere in the mix. And it's true that some plugins have issues with very high volume signals, but most plugins don't. And to be honest, unless you're using like analog emulation plugins, which I think most of us aren't, you shouldn't really have any issues with that. And Ableton handles everything in 32-bit floating point, which means that you can essentially go over 0 by a few dB before Ableton starts to clip you. But for these files like here, how I've recorded it, you can see the way I recorded. What Ableton does is it basically creates a file like this, and you just saw it how I turned it like down, right? It's now 2.94 decibels. Ableton creates a file which is at 0, and then just turns it up by a few dB to get you to the desired volume. So it's not actually clipping. It's just turning it up in volume above 0 without clipping it. So this is our first one done. We can save that real quick by just dragging it in here. It creates new samples here, and then we just call it $15G. And this is how I've been making these atmospheres up until now. And what I then usually do is to just create a new track. I look, where does this atmosphere end? And I go on to the next, and I decide like the length. Sometimes I want a little bit of a longer one, like this one is 4 bars. I think I have one that's 8 bars, and the rest are all like either 4, 2, or no, this is 16 bars, sorry. This is 16 bars, this is 8 bars, and we have a 2 bar atmosphere sometimes, but usually the output is like longer. So the minimum that I do is like 4 bars in length in terms of the MIDI clip. And then you add another 4 bars of the reverb going out. So this is a 16 bar MIDI clip leading into a 20 bar atmosphere, basically. And that's how I decide what I want the length to be. So then I drag in the synth that I want to use, say that I want to use for this one. And oh, let's try something fun in Faceplant. And we can start working in Faceplant. And the idea of this whole project is because everything in terms of processing is done on this track here. I don't have to do any individual processing. You can see all of these synths, no processing whatsoever. It's just straight out of the synth through reverb and delay and then into the recording, which is really handy for this kind of thing. If you ever want to produce like a large quantity of samples for some reason, maybe that you want to make your own sample packs, or you, I don't know, get a client that wants you to do a certain amount of samples that all have to have the same kind of processing, I would always recommend having like an FX group or an FX bus, whatever you're working in with your DAW, and then using that for any effects, so that you don't have to worry about putting effects on individual tracks. Now, to be honest, how I've been using Faceplant all this time is by going into here, creating a bunch of analogs, and then setting up some complex FM routing. Right, I would do something say like this, and then we would use this one here to create another neat texture. I kind of look at the texture and see if that's close to what I would like, and to use that to create another neat texture. Here we have this kind of cool FME sine wave, and then we might use that for our first carrier here. Let's say this to a triangle maybe, because generally speaking the square wave doesn't really work for FM carriers. So this is a modulator, not a carrier. And then from here I kind of just add things. So I might add a little bit extra here. I might add a little bit of extra sine to it. Bring this nice in there, and I just tweak different things. Maybe I want a little bit of extra sine in there so we get a cool little ripple effect. And I just kind of see what comes out. And this is how I've been using up until now Faceplant. Always like this. Maybe what I would do once in a while is just set this like up an octave, then you get cool different tones. Here you can see it's a different waveform now, but never anything more than that. What I want to try today is, well, sometimes I use the wavetable, so maybe sometimes I would use like a custom wavetable, say something like this, which is like a rounded triangle. That's always good for FM, or one of these, like the uneven triangle things. That's always fun. Maybe like a halfway between square and saw is neat. It's a little bit different. So stuff like that I've always been using. But there's this whole thing here of modulators, which are basically what you see as the warping modes, or the warp functions within Serum. Right? So you have the bend modes, you have the remaps, whatever. A pulse width modulation, we have windows, which is useful for windowing. Say you want something like this. I think the way you would do this is set this to the level. So let's set this back to 100. I think windowing is explicitly done on the level. Set this up like that. And then something like this. Let me play with the I don't exactly know how you would do this, but normally what you would do is windowing on the level. I think the reason here is because both of them are not at 0. When you would have like an actual window, you would want them at 0, I think. That's generally how it's done. All of the negative stuff would be pushed into 0. I don't know if there's a way to do that. Ideally, you would do that with a distortion curve, but there's no way to do custom distortion in here. You would just be able to remap everything up, basically. I guess we could play with this frame, but then we would need to fix all of these frames here. And wouldn't know how to do that. Yeah, the idea would be that normally your window is just 0 to positive, and here it goes from negative to positive, which is not ideal. I think if we want to make, we could do a little experiment here. Let's see. Just some experimentation here. If we output just the window, then I'll do this for all 3 windows, because that would be very useful to have like actual functioning amplitude windows. What we would need to do is get a wave shaper, like the Miller Productions one, distortion wave shaper, and then we would need to asymmetrical set this to 0. I think minus 12 should be 0. Yeah, it's giving us an output now, right? So it's taking our silence and outputting something, which is not ideal, but okay. It is what we want. So we would, yeah, remove any DC from that. And then I think we can just go and create a bar of this at C3. And then just output this over time. We set this up to our window. And it just goes up. Let's see if I do this, what we get for an output. If I record this. It does seem to be going down, which is not what we want. So maybe the DC blocker is not ideal. We would need to remove that then. Let's see how it looks now. Yeah, this is what we want, right? Now we can turn that back on so that there's no actual DC coming out, because that is bad for equipment. So I think it's best to re-record this lower. And I'll record all 3 of them, because I do want to have windows that are usable. Seeing as we're at the start of the stream, it's okay, we don't have to make that. I have to make it that quick, basically. Turn the DC blocker off for now. We'll do it 1 up, that might be better. Hope that Vital will be able to understand what's going on here. So this is the first. I'm gonna go and get window number 2. Basically converting all 3 of them then at this point. This is number 2. And I think the best way to do this is just to import them in Vital. Let's turn the DC blocker on again. And by importing them in Vital, we should be able to create wavetables out of this. And then I save them and we open them up again in Faceplant. So instruments. All my plugins open over on my second monitor, which is annoying, but okay. I think I could just wavetable this in, right? No. Is it because it's open? doesn't like samples that are open. Show in browser. Maybe it's just unable to recognize this as a wavetable. What key are we in? We are in C1. I think if I use Serum, Serum is able to import with like keys and stuff. Well, error. Yeah, because it's open now, it doesn't like that. So we find it in the browser. Show in browser. Here we are, the old ones. We can use those. Okay, so it doesn't like that. I can go C1. Oh, C1, which is 676 samples, and I think I can just drag this in here. Yeah, the only thing is that we need to clean it up a bit. There is some DC component in here. So the DC wasn't completely blocked, and you can see it's a little bit strange there. It's annoying. Let's see if they all do that. Yeah, they all seem to have the same problem. Let's see if we can fix that right here. Very first thing would be to get this to 0, actually DC block it completely. Which I don't know if I can do that. If I do just another DC blocker on here, what do we get? So that's 15. Audio bitrate is low. I don't see any problems here. And it's still above 0. You can see, yeah, this segment is definitely above that other segment, right? So that's no good. We would need to remap that to 0. What we might be able to do is, instead of using a DC blocker, is to just map the low volumes to 0. We'll do like something like this, or just curve everything to silence without really changing much. This should hopefully get us closer to 0. Let's see how it's now. It's still slightly above there, so we would need to put this one a bit higher. I'm hoping that we can get to a point where this is just, yeah, completely 0. So then it becomes a usable window for like volume manipulation. It is, I think, as close as we're gonna get it. I can try to really up this a bit more still, but I don't want to break it too much, right? Yeah, it's looking like now it should be right at 0. That's strange. So that doesn't change anything. If we now add the DC blocker to this, or will that mess everything up? Yeah, that does mess everything up. Okay, so then let's just leave that here. What we could try is duplicate this effect. If you're not sure what we're doing here, we're trying to make windows that we can use for amplitude modulation. So a window is basically a signal that shows where another signal passes through. And the original windows in Faceplant go from negative to positive. What I want is a window that goes from 0 to positive, so it can actually be useful for AM. So that's what we're doing here. I'm just using basically a wave shaper, in this case twice, to force certain sections to 0 dB so that it actually works. And now it looks like it's actually going to 0. So I'm going to copy this over to the other two, and we'll freeze that into new clips, which you can then use as our new wavetables. And hopefully save them and everything. Freeze and flatten. There we are. Consolidate this into new files. We can then open them up in the browser and delete them from here. And then we should be able to import them directly into Serum. I go C1 here and then go like this. It doesn't like that first one. It doesn't like what we did to it. Because we want the newest ones. C1 again. Oh, C1. And then we import this. Yeah, so now it's closer to 0. It's not perfect, but at least it's closer. So we have this in wavetable format. And we can use this and just save it as a window. At some point I'm going to recreate windows like these and just make them like properly. I'll just call these bad because they're not really the greatest quality, but for now they'll do. Save this as window 2 bad, and then we just need the final one. And we can save this as. Now it's not going to get the best results because, as I said, the window isn't the best, but it's looking decent, right? You can see how it goes like up and down, which is all we want. So let's go into Faceplant and show you what we actually want to do with this. So say that I have square wave. Where a window is useful is, say that you want to select just a portion of this square wave. I can go into the wavetable and I can get my window, table user windows, say number 3, and we set it to a nice wavetable position. I can now theoretically set this to modulate there. You can see now where the imperfections come in this little crossing. But you can see that this window is basically selecting what part of the saw wave and how much of the saw wave is coming through. So this is amplitude modulation that we're doing here. It's not FM. This could also be a useful tool for FM. Sounds like this. I believe a synth called Citrus by ImageLine provides a whole bunch of different windows for you. But where this is really useful, and I think I might even eventually do a video on this, is in sound design for FM synths, especially for psytrance, because we want very clicky, almost like bandpassy, squelchy sounds, right? So already this sound here, this. It's a nice start. This is just basically a high-pass saw wave right now. Gets a little bit more of a square property, but it's basically a saw wave because you can see how it like rolls off there towards the end. So it's not no longer a square wave, and therefore it gets saw wave harmonics. Where this is cool if you start to FM this as well. So let's FM this thing. There you have a nice psytrance synth, just with a little bit of FM on there and maybe some distortion. And here again, you can see the window isn't perfect, so we're leaking a little bit here in the middle. That's why I would want better windows. But what I do like about this is that it's movable, right? I can select different distances, like different amounts that I want to come through. Say I want to set a very sharp sound, I can set it. Something like that. So let's put this patch without the wave shaper, we don't need it, on here, and try to create a nice atmosphere out of this. We can set this to play G. And then by just changing the window size dynamically, get a nice full sound. Let's go from, not from 1, because that has a little bit of extra leakage. I hate every time I watch one of your streams, I can feel myself reaching into my wallet to buy more plugins and synths. Stop. Okay? If you have that problem, I'll prevent you from having that problem by just saying, don't do that. Because what we're doing, like what I'm doing here is, for one, very technical. And part of the reason is I have these synths partially because of my YouTube stuff. So I make money off having these synths. It's an investment for me. Whereas for you as a normal producer, what would be more an investment is spending that time or money, whatever you're going to spend, on learning the synths that you already have. So if you have Serum, or if you just have Vital, you can get enough crazy sounds out of either one of them. The fact that I'm able to do this because I have this combination of Serum and Vital and Faceband, which offers me these windows, which I can then convert with this other plugin that I have, this Wave Shaper. You don't have to do that, right? So it's a lot better for you if you wisely want to spend your money, is to see what do you already have and what cool things can you come up with. And you can obviously take my stream as inspiration. I don't want to say that you shouldn't be watching my stream because you get impulse, like you have the impulse to buy stuff. But you do have kind of this this inspiration that you can take from whatever I'm doing. And maybe you're not able to do exactly this, what I'm doing here, but maybe you have some different cool idea that you can do with whatever synth that you do have. So if you do have that issue, which I know a lot of people have, I know it's a common issue, and I've definitely fallen for it myself as well, where I've seen somebody use a plugin and just immediately went over and bought it. But part of the reason why I'm like slightly more able to justify it to myself is because I can see it partially as an investment for my YouTube, in the sense that I can, if I know a plugin is going to do well with like an audience or whatever, I can say, well, I'm gonna get so many views, I'm gonna get so many eyes on my products, I'll make roughly an estimate of what I can get back from it. And if that estimate is higher than the cost of the plugin, then it's an easy sell. Yeah, we can delete all this now. We don't need that anymore. Let's get rid of that so we can just focus on our atmospheres again. I do think this is a cool sound. Mostly for the sidechaining features. Sidechaining features, where on the, well, I don't know where you're getting that idea from, because then it's not my fault, because I haven't used sidechaining all day today. At that point, it just becomes your fault for wanting to buy plugins. Then it's not on me, okay? You cannot say that that's me doing it. I think I'm at 17 here. No. 16. Let's get some more atmospheres done, because we've done a cool experiment now, and it's been 15 minutes. I'll do another 2 quick atmospheres, and then I'll take a quick break, and I'll be, you know, the drill. I'll be gone for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I get back into sound designing some more. I want to do another 4-bar one, mainly because this the G category has a lot of longer ones. I can set them by size, and you can see the shorter ones are like, even these are not the same format, right? I want some more rising 4-bar ones, basically. There's this one that's huge. I think for D sharp I did one that's even bigger. Yeah, 20 megabytes here. Let's see, what's 20 megabytes is the biggest one here, isn't it? Yeah. I thought I did one which was bigger still. I guess that's not in here for some reason. I'm sure I did one that was 32 bars long, so that must be this one then. Is it? No. This is just longer because it's recorded, which by the way shouldn't be. This should be. Let me quickly fix that. Oh, from my masterclass. Ah, nice. So then it is my fault. Yeah, again, the masterclass, it's a good way to learn things, but don't feel like you need an exact plugin to do what I'm doing. You're still blaming me. I can understand that, yes. Let me just quickly clean up this file here. Nice. Okay. I am almost 100% certain that there should be. Yeah, this is the 32 bar one. That's 21 megabytes for one sound. You can basically see the length in terms of how long they are roughly by the amount of megabytes, because there's a one-to-one relation in waveform files, in WAV files, between file size and file length. Mologify, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Hello, could you do some drum fills? Today I'm not doing any drums, I'm doing only atmospheres. What I can do, and what might be interesting to explore in a video, yeah, like in a video format, doing drum fills, how I would do them. What I did see, and what might inspire me a little bit to spend some more time on drum fills, is a video from Future Phonics. Let me see if I can find it. By Wyo. The Wyo masterclass cut. They did a little bit of a preview from it. That's this video, specifically on psytrance fills. Not so much drum fills, more like sound fills. But he creates.
Call them break. Before we sure in your
this. I could try to make something like that myself and then do a video on that. If that's okay with you, I can. I'm not going to do it in the stream because this stream is like dedicated atmosphere. But I'll see if I can work that into a video. I need to write that down somewhere. I do probably have a file still here. Let me just go to my desktop. There should be a video ideas txt. Yes. Yeah. Speed control and volume automation to sidechain all my sounds in different ways, but I feel like I lose control of levels or mixed by doing it that way. As long as you're not. So peak controller is FL Studio. What's ideal for FL Studio is that as long as you don't touch the mixer knobs, which in FL Studio it looks like this, right? Where you have your mixer strip and then you have like a volume slider. As long as you don't touch that, then you should be okay, because then you can use that for your main volume control. I know a lot of people, what they would do is they would like directly automate their volume. So they would say for their kick setup, like a curve they like, go like maybe like this, and then go back up like this, something like that, a sidechain like this, right? And then they would just duplicate that over their whole track. Now you've lost your ability to do volume control with the fader. So I would recommend against that. In Ableton, if you still want automation-based like sidechaining, what you do is you have like a utility effect where it just has a gain which goes from -infinite to 0, where you can use that for the sidechain. You should be able to do the same thing in FL Studio. I don't remember if there's an effect that has like a gain from -infinite to 0, the way Ableton has that. But I think not the peak controller, but I think their normal limiter might even have it, the fruity limiter. So if you don't set up like a sidechain trigger with the fruity limiter, you can still just use it to automate its output volume from -infinite. I think it goes to -infinite on that one. Yeah, use the link to fader automation on the actual playlist. Yeah. So what you would need to do is, instead of linking it to the actual fader, you would need to find a substitute which you would. I think it's the limiter that allows you to do it. I think it allows you to set input gain, which then goes until -infinite. So you would do it to a limiter as an insert effect. The annoying thing there is that you lose an insert, which in FL Studio aren't unlimited. Like there's only a certain amount of effects that you can put in. I think now they've upped it to 11, like per track. But generally speaking, you want to have a main volume control, which is just a fader where you don't touch it. And since the mixers has nice faders in FL Studio, you would leave the mixers for that task, basically, is my suggestion. Let's see here. I think I can open these wavetables also in here. This is just one big mess of wavetables though. I would need to add, let me go. No. Tables, user. This is my user tables. Here we should have the window. Yeah, we can still play with the window here, although it does not like that. It doesn't like. It's strange how it's how it goes down like that. It doesn't. It interprets the window as if I want it to go down, where I really don't want that to. It automatically like gains it to the middle. Which is not what I want. So let's set it to here. This is the closest we can get to 0. And now let's use this as our RM from oscillator 2. Just looking at the output, we should see a very narrow spike as our output. And we set yeah, you can see it there. We should now be able, if we do more of this, then it might only be the visual representation. It does look like it's still windowing it normally, even though this is definitely like below it. Like with the 2D visual, I think it's just a visual thing. So we should still be able to, for example, phase disperse that, and we need to turn down these levels and then say use this as our FM on the sine wave. Let's see what that does. All basic shapes. Just up this almost all the way up top, and then that would be our sound here. I can turn this to 0 as well, and we can play with the phase relationship between these, see if we can get some different cooler sounds. Let's for now just see. Goes up a little bit late, so let's lessen the curve a little bit. It's pretty cool already. I'm pretty happy with that sound. It's a bit more complex than the other like windowed for sound that we have, but it still has kind of the same vibe. We definitely need to do some volume control here, because looking at the waveform, what I'm looking for is this kind of shape where it just goes up to a point and then down again. That makes the sample very nice for any form of transitioning. In that case, I just add like a volume shape like this. And now it's closer. It's not perfect. You could definitely shape off a little bit here, but I'm happy enough with that. So now we can just normalize that, give it its output fade so it doesn't randomly stop with the reverb. The reverb fades out nicely. And then we can drag that in our folder, as always. Number 17 G. For today, I'm hoping to finish the G section, so that would be around 30 to 35 samples in this folder. Then I just have one folder left, and then the pack is finished, and I can get it out to release. I was hoping to get it out this week, but I've been very busy over the weekend, so I wasn't able to get as many samples done as I wanted to. We can do another one in Vital, and we'll do one more smaller rising one. We'll just try a different sound design idea maybe. Again, with the windowing, it might be cool to do another AM, but on a more complex waveform. We use the waveform modifiers instead. So for example, this wave folder, I'm a pretty big fan of this. As a Psytrance artist, this is the kind of stuff that we like. We can add another one. Let's set this 5. Nice and clean wave falling sound there. Right? I can save this as a wavetable. What we can do is window this. So let's try window 1 for this one. I don't know how different it is from window number 2. Window number 1 is like in the middle in terms of like narrowness. That's useful to know. Again, we set up RM all the way and just set this to 0. I believe as we turn this up, we want this to slightly turn down. And that sounds well. Thank you. You can see what it's doing, right? It's just taking this little section of that curve out there. We can play with the phase. If we set this to 0, you just get the low version of it. If you set it to 180, the same here, basically. We get this exact peak in there. It might be cool to have it slightly offset, where this is like 50. But once we open it up, it gets that. It does allow through this spike, but when it closed it, the spike kind of just lands right outside of the window. That should add more high end as this thing like opens up. Gets a nice high end in there. Can give it a bit of drive going into distortion. Maybe it's a bit too metallic. For an atmosphere, it might be cool to have a bit of chorus in there. What I like is set these delays a little bit lower and just washes everything out a little bit and just puts them all together. So we record this. And we set it to there. 0, 0 red. I might want to, I think it will be okay, but normally when there is a little bit of audio here, I add a fade to the start as well. It does seem like it has a little bit of a click, so we can just slightly fade that out like that maybe. That just makes it sound a bit nicer, in my opinion. This is the one in the wrong folder. Yeah, so then the next one, what we can do is do another 8-bar sound. But I'll take a little break in between that because an hour has passed and I do want to quickly refresh my ears, as always. Psychedelic Atmosphere 18G. So I'll put on some music that I've been working on. I don't have anything new to let you guys hear, but I do have, as always, just some cool stuff. I think you see the size. Yeah, this is the longer version of that project. I'll put on this project because I haven't shown this off too many times. And this is about 7 minutes. That should give me enough time to take a quick break, have you guys listen to something, and I'll be right back. And I will just continue on where I left off, so don't go anywhere. In the meantime, if you have anything to say about this track, then let me know. I highly appreciate any feedback. Yeah, I'll just play it here.
Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower.
Hope you enjoyed that piece. It's a song that I haven't worked on for a long time. If we get the samples finished that I want to finish for today, up until 30, let's aim for 30 samples for today. I can do a few off stream later and just finish it, the G section this evening. Then we can get into some production. That might be a bit more interesting. Although I don't know how well that project is going to run on stream. We might do a different project. I have a few projects lined up. I have one project that I don't know if I can still open it. There might be some issues there. I think with the next break, I'll let you listen to that project as well. It's this 76, which is also nice and length. It has issues opening up where the project just crashes at startup. Yeah, let's do an 8-bar one. What I'm thinking of doing now is just some basic FM. So we'll get some basic waves in here. Not that one, I want the basic shapes. And yeah, I want a triangle. Is this what I like about triangle on sine FM? Let's set this to the normal one as well. Basic shapes. It sounds really neat to me with like an octave up. I really like this sound. Give it some more. Like in this region here, around this region-ish. I really like that vibe that you get from that. We could do some more with the remap function and just like squash it a little bit. Maybe let's squash it to the middle, that makes more sense. We're basically band plussing at this point. We can squash it towards these points here. Then we would do like this and then have this just go that way. and that way. Do something cool with that. The final thing I want to try is with the delay. I think I want to use a normal Ableton delay for this delay, because I don't like timing that you get from the serum delay. It's a little bit off time, I think. If I go to my frequency chart here, what I can do is take frequency here and say 1000 divided by the frequency divided by 2, and I get 20.40. We set this to 20.4. Then we basically get cycle repetition. So it takes one cycle and it just repeats that. You get cool sounds out of that. Maybe with a bit more feedback and fully wet. You can also go 10.2, so half that. A bit more feedback still, we can put it up to 95. We might need to do something to that though. Let's try here a wave shaper, and we'll wave shape this downwards so we get less volume, so the delay has more volume to reintroduce. See, this needs to use the full volume, so we set this master up to 0 dB. Get a cool kind of tone, I think. So let's draw in our notes here for our automations. Let's go like up, down, and up, and then for the second one we'll just go up towards the end. Ooh. This thing like that. Set up our notes, obviously, right register, and now we have probably a good idea to not have it at the start, so this also morphs in. It's a cool tone that it gives towards the end there. It kind of shifts octave almost. It's almost like it does a pitch shifting, but that's probably because the wave does something weird there where it just kind of stops. I cannot really explain what's happening there, but it does. It should be happening here. We should have like a change almost in the wave. I cannot really see it, but that's okay. We'll add this like this. I do think this is a useful sound. It's nice and FM-y. Sounds pretty cool. This is number 19 then. I'm going to go a little bit faster than we did before, so we might not do as much interesting stuff. (19G). I do have another cool idea, and that is to do some vocoding, but with bandpass. So for vocoding we need 2 sounds. So we'll create a carrier quickly, and I probably want to make it longer. So for now we'll group these 2 together. Or maybe clip on both, and then for this one, our carrier, we don't need anything crazy. I probably just want a rich saw wave kind of thing. So we'll do something like this. I also set this to 2 for some detuning on there, and then put that all through a filter that just kind of removes the top end in some points. Basic thing, basically like this, and then we duplicate it over. We get some movement in there. Let's go. Down and up like this, right? What I think would be cool is to take that and take a vocoder, and then we set it to external and take the audio input from number 18, where I want it from, which right now doesn't have a synth, so it doesn't show up. Now we should be able to select number 18, yeah. And here, create bandpass. Very strong bandpass with a high resonance. And we create 16 notes. So this would be with a little bit of pluck. And then we set randomness as our mod source. Nice white bubbly sound. If we go to this, distortion to this. Just to be a bit lower in frequency, kind of. Maybe like this, just a bit of a strange sound to me. It doesn't sound like it's G0 playing. I don't know why that is, but I do like the sound that we're getting. 0. Nice. Number 20. G. There we are. And we can just move on to the next one. So this is what I mean by doing it quickly. Like I have an idea, I implement it. No fuss. If it works, then it works, and if not, then not. Let's do something with baseband again, just to mix things up. I'll do one of my more common setups. What I do, as I've mentioned, is just a whole bunch of triangles, maybe like one saw wave like this, and then we set up some crazy FM routing thing here. Wait, does this make, do you see how it's like a sine wave and then the same amount of area silent? That's pretty cool. If I set this to 18, then it's too much, right? Yeah, I cannot get it precise. 17.5 does this take? It does not like half values. That's annoying. Okay, so now we have a saw with like a sine wave built into it. We'll use that for our crazy tone here, which we apply. Maybe like so. So I can set, for example, this FM amount here. And just by turning it up, you can see the sound just completely changing and morphing there. Now say that we also set this to this one itself, but negative. Get another crazy tone, and we set that to this one here. And maybe this is already enough. Maybe we add some more. Frito, how are you doing? Nice to see you. I'm doing great. Some nice sound design going on here, so I'm happy with that. What's the main idea of how to make atmospheres? So the idea here is, because I'm working on a sample pack, what I would recommend for anyone who wants to get into sound design for atmospheres is that you convert all of your sound into samples. This is the sample pack that I'm working on, right? There's a whole bunch of different samples that I'm making, which I can just whip up whenever I need an atmosphere. And this is going to be available also for purchase from my website really, really soon once this is finished. But the idea that I have is, I have this Ambience Rack where, let's explore this a little bit. We have a chain in there with 2 dry-wet racks, which in turn house a rack which have like different delays in this one. And then the other one has different reverbs, where I can morph between them. And they all have like similar settings. So the idea is, with a whole bunch of different reverbs and delays that I can combine basically with this select function, this one and this one, as well as a dry wet for all of them, I can create samples that, in terms of ambience, in terms of delay and reverb, are all pretty much the same. But then I just kind of sound design into it. So the sound design itself sounds very, very dry. And you're right that it has a lot of slow movement in there. So something like this. But because of this rack here, it just becomes this nice wide, reverby, delay kind of sound. That's kind of how I do my atmospheres. Just the idea of starting with more harmonic content and then softening it up. All of the content that I've been doing is harmonic, so there's no inharmonic sounds in here. I achieved that either through FM, so this is like an FM setup in Faceplant. This is just normal subtractive synthesis, but with the catch that there's a vocoder on there, which comes from this weird carrier that I did. But it's all harmonic, yeah. And then, yeah, the idea is just adding movement either through filtering or whatever other technique. Here I just set up a bunch of macros, which does some FM again and a little bit of remap. I have this remap function that I made. Before we did a little bit with windowing, which is this technique of having a window signal, which is a signal which is silent most of the time, and then there's a little peak, which if you use RM, so ring modulation or amplitude modulation, both should work. It allows you to output only parts of a signal. And what I've done is I've basically had this window open up over time. Is the idea. So there's a whole bunch of different techniques that once you have your group set up like this with your Ambience Rack and in my case like a high pass filter, then any form of harmonic sound design should work going into it, as long as it has the movement for it to stay interesting over whatever amount of time that you want to sound design something. What's the main difference between a pad design versus an atmosphere? Usually a pad is an element that plays chords, whereas atmospheres I would consider them more single notes. So there are some in here that do play chords. I think in the earlier ones here there are a few that like play like chord material. Stuff like this, right? Which is more of a pad sound, but it still stays on the same note and it does not follow the chord structure of your track. Whereas I would say a pad follows more the chord structure of whatever track that you're working on. They also sound even softer. Yeah, usually. I wouldn't go for FM for pads, no. That's more subtractive synthesis, additive synthesis in that area you're usually at. If you want to go crazy, you can do like granular stuff. Also, for a lot of these atmospheres, I'm playing them at the bass register. So that's the reason why this high pass is here. So otherwise it would produce like bass frequencies, which generally we don't want. Yeah, subtracted sims grain stuff will usually work better. And you usually play them a little bit higher in terms of octave, like a sound like this would be more of a pad sound. That's more in the region where I would place a pad in terms of like the height on the octave scale. Whereas for my atmospheres in particular, the psychedelic stuff, I would like them to be really, really low. I sometimes go one octave higher. We could try one that's an octave higher. Do another quick serum one here. And just do, I don't know, maybe something simple like this. A little bit of detune on the second one. And a little bit of movement in there as well would be nice. Just like this. I guess maybe a little bit less volume on that one. Let's hear. I also sometimes like an atmosphere which has a little bit of movement in there. So what we're doing now, where it's just like opening up and then closing again. The only pad that's a little bit different is the zebra pad, yes. Although it looks like this. Oh. It kind of has a zebra pad vibe. I kind of like that already. It's just that kind of almost squelchy sound that we like in psytrance. It does clip a little bit here. But that's okay. Once we normalize it, it shouldn't clip anymore. Put this maybe a bit more. Maybe let's have it ring out like this. That would be nice, just to change it up a little bit. Let's do 0 and then we'll have a listen. Into it. Would be nice to have it like that. Okay. Is number 22. Yeah, we're getting pretty done with this. Well, 8, 9 more samples. I'm thinking I'll do up until the next break, probably half an hour, 45 minutes. And then I might get into some production if you guys want to see some normal production more. If you find that more interesting, then I'm okay with doing just a few more samples here, get to, I don't know, 26, 27, hopefully, around that. And then after the stream, I'll do the rest off stream, and then hopefully I can get the G section done for today. And I just need a little bit more time working on G sharp here. I'm guessing another longer one. And then we'll do a few more shorter ones, because those are generally easier and quicker to do as well. Another good idea is just to get random sounds or wavetables in here. If you're just doing like atmospheric stuff, set up a little bit of an FM, and you just find a tone that you really like. So now we have something like that. We can emphasize the tone a bit with a bit of a high pass filter. It's maybe like goes down like this and then up again. Have a listen to this, what we have here. Volume of this thing a bit so that something like this. Let's have a record and see what it looks like. I do feel like we need to do some volume automation on that because this is just a bit too loud there. So we'll go towards the end. I probably want it a bit louder. And then here around this region, yeah, right in the middle, we'll just go down a bit. Like so. Maybe like this. Let's re-record that. Okay, so that's maybe a bit too much on the volume change. We'll up that a little bit. I'm just trying to get like a stable looking waveform towards the end, and then here it can go up. That's a bit too much though, so final thing, bring that a little bit lower. The cool thing, especially for sidetrans producers, is that once you, for sounds like these, not just dropping it in your project, but like playing around with them. So for example, what you could do is create a track where you take impacts like this. Use that as an effect sound, right? You take the last bit of the sample and you just go. Use that somewhere and then take somewhere else a different one. That's a cool one, maybe. Something like that is cool. That's all in. This is already like in D sharp, I think. Yeah. That's the D sharp section of this pack. This is 23, I think. Yes. Get on to the next one. And as I said, we'll do a few shorter ones. Nice to have some short ones as well. And just morph between maybe. No, what I wanted to do for this one is show you how we would be able to take something like this sound and just by playing around with it, create a cool version of that sound, basically. So what I want to do is basically create a shorter version of that sound, but with some extras to it. So I think if I turn this into a sampler and go in here and set loop, looping here. I have to do it like that, or do I need to? Okay, what I wanted to do, I might need to do this in the simpler then. And I don't know if the simpler has what I wanted to do. Because the sampler has an FM option. I'm pretty sure about that. I can go in here somewhere and set an FM, I believe. Modulation maybe. I'm pretty certain that there's FM in here. I think it might be this here. Let's play this, let's see. Yeah, creates like an FM thing, right? We can't do that then. Or can we? Is there an oscillator in here? Pitch envelope, amplitude. I don't think there is. At least I'm not seeing. It does sound similar to me. So that's strange. And I just want this sample in here so we can remove multi-sample mode. So what I wanted to do is set, what you can do in Simpra is set a very short loop length, so 0.02 for example. We need to tune this actually. Let's set it to. Like that, we can fully crossfade. Create a cool atmosphere out of this. So let's set up the automation maybe like this. So that's now playing on B. What I want to do is emphasize that frequency there. Maybe not so much. Let's set that to right there. And we freeze and flatten it, and then we tune it to G. So now it's in B. Once it's frozen and flattened, we can give it a little bit of an amp envelope, and then we go A, G. This should have a pretty strong fundamental. That's a pretty cool sound. We basically recreated or taken this sound and turned that into that older sound. Which is again a cool way to use these sounds that I'm making now. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying what I'm doing here. Atmospheres G 24. I'll do one more, and then I'm going to take a quick break and to get into some production. Time is then at 7. Yeah, I'll do another hour, hour and a half maybe of production. And then we'll call it okay for the day. I can make some more sounds off stream on my own bass as well. I can turn on like a movie or something, which is just what I do in like evening when I'm sound designing or doing stuff. For music, I always have something in the background running as well, which is strange because then I sound design on top of other sounds, but it's not the nicest work to do, right? Like what we're doing here, sound designing. It's a little bit boring, and I know that, but I just want to get it done, and that's why I also force myself to stream it, because when I'm streaming, I'm not watching anything else, and therefore I'm a lot more productive. That's cool. You can do something with this, just like going down and back up. And then we'll do a little bit of fanning here, going from one side to the other. What about that? Amen to that, yes. Yeah, you should also have that same feeling. Making products, it's fun getting to see people use them and enjoy them, and getting all the messages coming in of like, this really helped me with my track or my production or whatever they send you. But the process itself of making products, especially a product like this where each sample just takes 10-15 minutes, it's not annoying because it's fun to do, but it's boring going through the same process again and again of record the sound, drag it in here, give the name, all that stuff. And just putting on something like a movie just really helps in that regard. Just when you're getting through that part of the annoying bit of the sound designing part, when like the actual fun of, okay, I've created this cool sound is over, then having something to distract you is really helpful. Yeah, so we're just past the 2-hour mark, which means that I'll take another quick break. Yeah, Dash, you might have already seen it that I'm not going to finish it by this week. I'm trying to finish the G today. Off stream I'll do the rest that I want to do, and then I have to do G sharp, and then I'll send it to you as promised. For those in chat wondering why Dash gets this stuff for free, is because he also sends me stuff. So it's mutually sending each other stuff. What he sent me is Dashglitz Patterns Essentials Volume 3, which I haven't played too much with yet. So it's another, now that you're here, it's another good excuse to get into production. I can start using them as well. I've used one sound in a track. I'm not going to work on that track yet. It's too much of an idea to get into. I do want to maybe look at a song that is a little bit more finished, so it's a bit more interesting for the stream. But for now, I'm going to take a quick break, so I'll put on some music. I'll let you hear that project that crashed for me. So, just out of interest, the project that I was talking about before, I have a project that I cannot really open because it keeps crashing. I don't really know what the deal there is. I might need to import individual tracks into a new project and then see where it crashes, and then like freeze that out or something and just see if I can get that to work. This is not mastered. All my other projects are mastered. Usually when I put them up like here, you can see this isn't mastered, but it still sounds very nice. So for the break, this is what I've been working on. I hope you enjoyed the preview, and I'll be back in whenever this track is finished.
enable you to tie your digital persona to your actual physical person by integrating technology into your body. It has not given you a digital voice that can speak for you in machine's native language, but also if you can't speak for yourself.
The atmospheres in here were made with the same idea as like this whole project. I won't talk too much through it, I guess.
At the same time, we're developing technologies that will allow us to go elsewhere in the universe.
here. Also, this atmosphere is like the same idea as what I've been doing here. This is basically just part is the same.
You to tie your digital persona to your actual physical person by integrating technology into your body. It doesn't give you a digital voice that can speak for you in machine's native language, but also if you can't speak for yourself.
Yeah, and then from here, just for now, it just finishes, right? I always, when I'm like halfway through production, I always leave a little bit of space. I don't know if anybody else does this. I always have my songs like at the latest version on my phone, and once in a while I listen to them on my phone or on my headphones through my phone, and I just leave a little bit of kick and bass on its own, so I can check just in general what my kick and bass sound like. And with this kick and bass, I really like the darkness that it has and the way that it all fits together. You can see from the waveform there's a little bit of issues like here, where there's a little bit of post-stringing in there, but it's not too bad. There's a little bit here which looks a little bit different the second time it plays than the first. There's a few issues that I need to still fix with this kick and bass, but I do really like the vibe that I'm going for here. This project crashes this one here, so I'm going to work on a different project, and hopefully that doesn't have the same issue. So let's go with 61 project. That's the project that I played before. I do want to save this, obviously. So I'll do a little bit of production. I'll change my title. Plus production. So it's better for the video once the video gets made from this. What I've seen, and I don't know if you have the same thing, Dash, is that I almost get more views with a live stream once it's finished, like people going back and watching part of the live stream, than just the live stream itself, because obviously a lot of people cannot catch the live stream itself. So what I almost thinking of doing is just taking the live streams that I've done now, which just looking at them here, there's quite a bunch. There's a few that are private that are like tests when I had camera issues. And this one, which is a little bit shorter, but I can just take some of these and cut out the best stuff, like any tips and tricks and whatever. And from there, what I'm thinking of doing is just posting like a highlights video almost of live stream material. It would be really annoying going through all of the live streams and scrubbing out exactly which segments are nice to see for people. But I think it would be very helpful to do once in a while. It's not too bad, because then I wouldn't edit it down, in the sense that what I do now with my videos is I do a lot of editing, right? Anytime I say like or anything weird happens in the recording, and the way that I'm recording, I have to edit that out. Whereas with this live stream, I'll just cut out individual sections, so it will take less time in that regard. So this is the project here that we're working on. I'm thinking of working on this final bit here, so I'll just play from like going into the second drop what we have. You can hear that. there's a lot of long delay stuff in this track. What I'm thinking here, so that the idea is that really here with this build-up rising thing that I have, so this one together with this is really the indicator where like the power of the track starts, right? So with this big cool impact sound, and then it just kind of falls flat in my opinion. It doesn't really have the power maintained. There is this synth which there's a little bit of the like keeping the power in there, and then I obviously have like these one shots once in a while, but it would be cool to have some more crazy synth sounds. And what I usually do, I won't do that now, but what I usually do when I'm looking for more psychedelic things is I go on to even Dash Glitch, but usually Mute Productions or Ollie Music's channel, and I just search for their ideas because they're a little bit more or a little bit less progressive. So whenever I need something a little bit more like, I would almost say full on kind of aggressive, usually like FME style synth, I go for them, to them for ideas. But what I think I can do is I can do some experimentation with Vital, because I found that in Vital it's really easy to get that FME crazy psytrance sound that we're all after. Especially with, for example, the wavetable I just made a little back, which should be in here. Yeah, this extreme wave folder table, which is pretty cool, kind of FME thing that I like. Quickly check the key here. This is A sharp. With the amount of projects that I have now, I get confused what key we're always in. One higher. You could do something with like randomness here, and then you would just like sample hold 116. I want to add a bit of FM from there on sine wave. You can set a random to this as well, a little bit extra. And then we go through a filter. You can hear how much delay there is on this project as well. Tempo dotted. A bit more feedback could be nice. Bypass it. Give it a bit more pluckiness. So we'll set this to level. Nicola, how are you doing? Boom Boom Bessa, if I'm not mistaken. take this and put it to Echo Boy. I like Echo Boy's wide version. So it's not really a ping pong, but it still gives stereo width. A bit different. We might go for the ping pong on this one. Drive it in here. We're not 10 dB, but dual echo is nice. Dual, yeah, this is the junior version. I don't know if the junior version has the dual mode. Here I just have like normal, wide, and then ping pong. That might be a how to do that resample thingy on of FM on Vital. Like the wavetable. This thing here. This is just a wavetable that I made before. I made a normal saw wave. Yeah, it's only on the normal version. I imagine that. And then we have two wave folders. One goes from 0 to 32. And then the second goes from 1. Right? Both go from 1 to the first to 32, and then the second to 5. And then you get a wavetable that looks like this. Here, I'll just quickly morph through it. You get basically this cool double morphing idea where you can see like two waves coming out of it. That's basically what you get. So just get the normal saw wave, one wave folder from 1 to 32, and then the second from 1 to 5. And you can experiment with that second one. You can set different values to create like different ones. What I do recommend is that you keep it even, so or odd. So if you set it to like 7, that might also work. Or if you want even crazier, you can go even higher still. It's the multiplier automation inside the wave folder. Yeah, no, this is wave folder is the modifier that you add right here, and then you can set keyframes for it basically. So you can set values over time, and then it just shifts between them. This again goes to 5. And that's how you create like change in Vital. That's how Vital handles wavetables. So for this sound, we turn this off. We can just maybe put it in here somewhere. Put one right here. It's just the standard always that I apply those wavetable modifiers on. Another cool way to get a whole bunch of different cool psychedelic psytrance synth sounds basically is to, if I go into my documents, my Xfer, my tone pack, let's go for the 1 right now, and I'll just select a bunch at random basically. And then you can just drag them in and they become individual wavetables. I can set note on random, and I can play with those, add a bit of distortion, bit of compression for some cohesion. You might need a few more actually. Let's add just a bunch more in there so we get some more random sounds out of it. Yeah, we have a few, that should be okay. Yeah, no, these tone pack, if you have the tone pack, this waveform is specifically tuned to work as a wavetable. So that's why this just works. So these, yeah, this is a product that I made. It's a 2-part wave tone thing. It's not a wavetable in the sense that if you take an individual one and just like drag it in here, it doesn't morph, but it's a cool tone that you can use that. I did make them with Vital, but then I cut them up and then I processed them inside Serum. So what I did for this process is I made a patch within Serum, and then I rendered out like 8 bars of that patch. I put that patch into Vital, and then I saved it in Vital as a wavetable, and then I went back into Serum and went into the individual frames and then took out all of the tones that I liked, and I placed those inside files basically. So each tone sample is basically a single cycle. That's why they're like short beeps, right? Like it doesn't sound like a sound right now. Already have a dead mind. Yeah, it was a complicated process, but now I have this whole bunch of tones which I can just drag in, drop in, and play with. Reuseful. I use this a lot when producing, and what I can do now is I can just set sections where I want them to play basically, and take my arpeggiator, set those on like nice long gate and then 16 notes. And then I can say, okay, I want some, maybe say here to play, and then I want a bit here, and then towards the end maybe. And we just repeat that pattern. And now we should have obviously I need to tune them down, otherwise it's too high. Might be cool to bring back the vocal from the break here. I'm feeling like with the way I have this sectioned out right now, what I'm having here, it's like the whole drop is shifted forward a bit. Either I keep this with just the kick and the bass and no other drums, and then we bring back the drums here, a little bit here in the outro, and we have this, what I have now, as the outro. Or I move this all around. Either way, this section doesn't feel like it's in the right place right now. So we would need to find a solution for that. I do think having the vocals once more is cool. Maybe different vocals in here. Let's have a listen at some options.
Experts have been wrong on the feasibility of air travel.
Well, we also have this here, so what's this? Is that not playing anything? It's because I have the wrong track soloed.
So time travel has really captured our imagination.
We can bring back some of the old elements in there. Take maybe this thing back in there. Copy that over. That's where it's placed, right? Yeah. Right there.
Captures our imagination.
We have this sound here. Also placed there. Might even shift this forward together with this. And just have this here take over again. So also the vocal would be here. Look at this.
Travel has really captured our imagination.
Thank you. That you're enjoying the track. can bring back all of these synths again. And I have this play is here as well. We get this. And then here we go into the final kick and bass out sort of thing. Just kind of wondering if I put this in here. I feel like the vocal loses a lot of its
travel has really captured our imagination.
Loses its power almost here towards the end. You can fix that by just boosting the volume there.
So time travel has really captured our imagination.
Let's fix this vocal a little bit. I want the time section of that vocal to really play there. Put a chorus on it or something. We could do some creative effects on it, yeah.
So time travel has really captured our imagination.
That might be a better version of the vocal, and then we put this here as well.
So time travel has really captured our imagination.
Buffer override plugin is also very nice on vocals for some glitch. I don't know if I have it still. I have a few bridged versions, but I don't think I have buffer override, because that's a 32-bit only plugin, right? That's the 32-bit only plugin that you showed me a long time ago. Back when I still lived in Budapest, I think. Like really at the start. I do have Fracture, which I think does the same thing. But I do want, for tracks like this, which aren't, they updated it, there's a 64-bit version. That's nice. I'll just open up a tab and leave it here, so that it's from DFX, right? It's this one. Is it this one? This? There's also one. Yeah, this. Okay, I'll just leave a tab open and then I'll keep it. Altar of Wisdom also has one. If I can support Altar of Wisdom, then I will go for that. Let's see. Chamber Hall. Do you know the name of his one? Because he has a lot of products. He has a whole bunch of different Max for Life devices, obviously. Yeah, it might be auto glitch, I assume. Oh, here, override. Buffer error generator. It's a VST. Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah, I'll leave these two tabs open for later, then I can take a look at it. For this kind of vocal, which is like a real theming vocal, it's probably best not to have them too glitchy, because I want the people to be able to hear what is actually being said. That's also why I want to restrict the timing to this area where there's no kick and bass playing. There should be still kick here, actually. I always like to finish with one final kick after the bass sound plays, otherwise it feels incomplete. So I fixed that. So we might need to make a little bit of space for this vocal just for it to come out a bit more. Let's have a listen if we just play from here. Yeah, the buffer override is free.
Travel has really captured our imagination.
I like how these two synths interact with each other. I also have this and this. Which I can place in here maybe.
Our imagination.
Slide that there. The melody is kind of loud. This one. Yeah, I can see that it might be a bit too loud right now for this, because here it's much more filled up than here. Like here it just plays on its own and there it works. I think maybe a bit less, yeah.
Has really captured our imagination.
You can see this being a bit empty. You can add this in there as well. So just add variation in it. Very slight bit rust. We can check that, yes. It's already pretty high and heavy, I think. But it could maybe use a bit more. yeah, there's a little bit lack there. We can, instead of a bit crush, what I like is the erosion. Yeah, so erosion for that specific purpose is very, very cool, because you can just set a frequency where you want your single spike and it will just show up there. Right, like this. It's just the same bit crushed effect. I might like evolve it over time, going like up like this. So the high end just kind of comes in when it needs it to, when the volume becomes lower, right? Because this is going down. And then here we go, like down again, same idea.
Travel.
Should be able to turn it down again then. And here again we can go from 0.
So time travel has really captured our imagination.
Maybe the second one I want a bit louder still.
Captures our imagination.
I want this synth to have some presence and some power. Downsample bit pressing, that's not the same thing. No. So a downsample, what it is if we look at like a waveform, a bit crusher. Let's bring up Redux. So a bit crusher, what it does is it changes how many positions the waveform can have vertically. A downsampler changes how many positions the waveform can have horizontally. So it's like a sample and hold of the waveform. You get like, I did it with my hands, not realizing that I don't have the camera yet. But you basically get like a stepped version of your signal. Whereas this will keep the same amount of samples vertically, but it will just make sure that they can only have certain positions depending on how many bits that there are. A decimate, I don't really know. I think that's a it's from that plugin from the sample and hold filter is rate crush. Yeah, it's a sample and hold filter is technically the analog version of that. So sample and hold filter would be like an analog device, whereas a downsampler would be a digital device. If that makes sense. It should perform the same action, technically, but because you're working in a different domain instead of in analog, you're working with continuous signals. So it doesn't really make sense to talk about sampling. bit crushes sample and hold at the audio rate. Yes. Yeah. So in sampling only really makes sense in the digital domain. It doesn't make sense in the analog domain because you're not there's no such thing as a sample of the signal because it's just like a continuous current, right? So I think, yeah, a sample and hold filter would just be, I think it's generally speaking slower, like you're talking about LFO speeds at that point, but it's the same underlying technique. A decimate, I don't really know. I think it's from the SoundToys plugin. They have a plugin with a few different distortion types, which is called Decimator, if I'm not mistaken. And there should be like a decimate mode, I think. There might be some other plugin. It might be on here. There might be like, if I go into MB distortion, there might be like a preset called decimate, and at that point, like hard. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a decimate preset in here somewhere. Maybe in BitFun 1. Spire also has decimate. Try and VCV rack. Can I search in here? I don't know if I can search. We can do a little Google search on what decimate really is, because that must, if there's different plugins using the term, then it might just be either they all use it at the same speed, or yeah, you could do it in analog, but the process is different. Downsampling is in nature a digital process because it works on digital samples. Even in analog, you are like performing downsampling, you're turning down the clock speed, but it's still not samples, right? It's still an analog signal that is being passed through it. Yeah, I would think that decimate would be like a general term. It might not be, it might be a type of distortion. Yeah, when I type decimate distortion in Google, I do get downsampling. So it might be a form of downsampling that's downsampling, compression, and decimation are terms associated with the process of resampling. Multi-rate, this can be synonymous with compression, or they can describe filtering at sample rate reduction. So decimation and downsampling would be the same thing. In that case, in the case of the chaos oscillator, they call it more sample and hold because it's not at audio speeds. Like it goes up to, I believe, 100 Hertz, right? So it's more like an LFO type speed. So in the digital domain, I would say that sample and hold is usually for non-audio signal processes. Also in Vital, the sample and hold random LFO is like an LFO. It's not at audio speed. Or at least, I think you might be able to set it up to like sub-bass or bass region, whatever, but the code is the same. Yeah, it's regardless of speed, the process is the same. It's just terms depending on if you're talking about audio speed and a purely digital domain. So then it's downsampling. But if you're talking about the analog domain, it's sample and hold. And if you're talking about very slow speeds, then generally speaking, they use the term sample and hold. But it might also be like a downsampler process, regardless what they're using. In essence, it's all the same thing, really. Let's get back into this. Just
captures our imagination.
You can make a downsampler so that's bit pressure. And it's called module and PCB. Yeah, a bit pressure as well. Yeah, I mean, technically maybe. A bit crusher does vertical sample and hold basically. So, from my understanding, if we zoom into individual, say, samples, right? These are the individual samples that make up the sound. A downsampler / sample and hold will take at any point, say that you have it take a sample at every 3 samples, and it will just set all the samples after that to the same sample. What a bit crusher does is it restricts the values that these samples can have to certain values, depending on the amount of bits that it uses. A bit crusher is, and also a downsampler, but a bit crusher being a digital component, what it just does is it takes your 16-bit signal or 24-bit signal, and it just sets the more significant bits, or the least significant bits, sets it to 1 or 0, and therefore it quantizes vertically. Yeah, it's a quantization process vertically, whereas sample and hold is horizontally over time. Is the one that I want this then. Where is that sound then? Oh, that is this sound. Yeah. This cool background sound that sits in here. Might be wrong, but the patch it describes if you swap the inputs around these patches. That might be the module just doing that. Might be like a digital module, whatever. But technically it's a different process. I don't know enough about VCV Rack to have any input on that. My Ableton is so emo. Yes, I like dark skins. For late night production, this is amazing. I also see that on that might be my monitor being very bright. But I can see that on OBS, it's a lot darker than on my monitor itself. It might be that I have my primary monitor turned up too bright, and therefore I compensate for that. Looking at OBS, I can definitely see why why some people even on YouTube say that it's a little bit of a problem that it's so dark. Although I do personally like how everything stands out. It's really clear to me where everything starts and ends and what everything is. The only thing I would want is being able to turn the font color darker. Right, the white ones are okay. You can really see the contrast here for all the fonts that are white. And for this, it's okay, but for like this one here and maybe the green ones, it might be a bit hard to see. Yeah, it's just very dark, yeah, but that's just the way I like it, so. But I can see that there's a difference between my main monitor and my OBS monitor, which is next to it. So it might just be that this monitor is brighter and therefore I compensated, because I took this dark skin, this dark Ableton skin that I found, which is a really nice skin. I do really like it, look and feel. And I believe I had it set to even darker before. I might have changed that with the recent YouTube comments, but I think I had it set to like 80 even. So it would be still darker like this. And that's just, now looking at this is just too much. So yeah, we'll keep it like this. Might be cool to keep this in here and then just filter it out. Keep a little bit of the melody in there. Let's see, do we want some more? I did say I wanted to get these in the outro. So here, basically. Might remove the final things from here like this, and then just have it like ring out here. This one also then needs to probably go down here like that. One more sound somewhere in here. That's probably this sound, obviously, just bringing out. Yeah. Let's just have that go down as well.
our imagination.
Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift.
Spotting a bunch of
Time
things
dilation.
which we can work on.
Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower.
See if we can clean up those vocals later. Okay, so I have a list of things that I want to do, fix, change on this song, and I'll do that for another hour or so, see how far we can get. But before that, I do want to get in a quick break, as usual. Been streaming for an hour and a half almost since the last break, so I want to quickly step away from the PC. I'll play you a different song. Let's see, what do I have that's also fun? I have this one, which is also a fun song. This I have shown on stream. We have worked on this on stream as well. But it's basically it's in basically the same stage as this song, a little bit shorter on the second drop. But it's also around that range where the idea is really solid in my opinion. But I just need to work things out, finish things, and get moving. I think the track that we've been working on is a little bit better overall. But still, it's a nice song, so that you hear it. And then I'll take my quick break, and I'll be right back once this song is finished. So have a nice listen, and see you in a bit.
physical. Problem was spiritual crisis, a spiritual crisis. describe it, the anguish of the soul, you know, you read about the black night of the soul. It was like that.
Okay, now I'm back. There it is. Should be all okay. I'm seeing that YouTube is telling me that I'm not giving enough, is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. But I am seeing in OBS that everything looks fine. So I don't know what that's all about. I hope we can just keep going without any issues. But we do have some notes to get to. It's probably a good idea to go first into the things that take the longest. So the main vocals, clicks and pops. What I want to do is I'm going to take this vocal. And this is a cool trick that you can do in Ableton where you just replace the sample. I think you can do this in every DAW. If you want to like edit a sample that already has a bunch of automation and stuff on it, we can, yeah, it looks smooth on my end, the stream, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'm hearing like a bunch of
time going slower. Gravitational redshift.
Right?
Time.
You might be able to fix some of that. Like this one here. Just going like this. Like this.
Time going slower. Time going slower.
Still here, so it might be in here as well.
Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation.
Here, this one also pops, so we fix that by just a little thing there. Here as well. You might need to do this for the final one as well. Okay, so now we have our new sample. And I'm going to consolidate this, which now has a new name. It's just, instead of 21, we have the 22. So I can go in here, right click right here, manage sample, and then replace. And we find that same sample here today.
Time going slower. Gravitation.
And it should now have replaced the sample everywhere. This should all be manage sample file 22. Yeah, we can just check if there's no strange things happening. Because there's a bunch of 108s in here. And I just need to check if it's all the same one. Yeah. Still the same. This one also. And I copied these over from there, so that's also good. The only thing that I want to do here is to put that in there and just remove some automations like so. Make sure that that last bit is also set one more time. And now we don't need this track anymore. So now we should have less pops in the vocal. We should check this here probably. I thought keep in this one here as well, a bit lower. We kind of want to go back to something that resolves nicely. Might just mean that I'm going to put this back on a sharp here. Might just keep this in here. Resolves a little bit nicer towards the end there. Might be cool to have it again and then not do that resolving thing, so we go down here maybe.
Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation.
This slightly here.
Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift.
And there, so we need to
Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower.
captures our imagination.
Go back in here, I just noticed that this was we've used this vocal pad more now. Let's just quickly check it, because I put it here in the intro, it might not work there. Might be too loud or something. Might be a bit too loud, yeah. It's not minus 3.
really captures our imagination.
Let me start. I want to get some of these brighter effects right here.
Really captures our imagination.
What I found was I'm lacking a little bit in downlifters and uplifters in this section. That's what we'll do now. And the cool thing about making sample packs is that I now have sample packs. So I can just go in, I will go into the 151 because it doesn't really matter. Find one that's cool, maybe not this. this might work best here. It's kind of like a background, 28 dB below. This adds a little bit of sound mixing to it. Here and there.
Time travel has really captured our imagination.
Doing the same for this riser here. I'll give it a bit of an input fade, and then this goes to like minus 28 as well. Here I wanted to take that I'll have to see where it is. It's this one, I guess. Number 8. Have the high frequency just kind of go down and back up. Might be cool to have everything mono in this little fill section. This is just an idea. We just set like the width down to 0 here.
Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift.
Oh yeah, I wanted to use this
Time
vocal
dilation.
thing, because that's the vocal from the intro,
Einstein's relativity.
and it then never happens again up until this
Time
point.
going slower.
So I'm going to copy it over with hopefully a bunch of automation on there,
Time dilation.
and then see if we can find a spot,
Einstein's relativity.
maybe like here.
Time going.
Time travel.
Like going in here maybe.
Time travel. Experts have been wrong on the feasibility of air travel, space travel, time travel.
Something like that. Maybe one more time towards the outro. I like it on the second to last bar instead of as an actual fill.
Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity. Time going slower.
Maybe no impact synth here. This one, let's listen like this.
Time going slower.
I like that, but I do not want the high end
Time
in there
dilation.
probably.
Einstein's relativity.
I want it to go like
Time going slower.
here it's layered, so here it works.
Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation. Einstein's relativity.
I might just remove it altogether.
Time going slower. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift.
Yeah, now with the vocal
Time dilation.
completely taking up that space.
Einstein's relativity. Time going slower. Gravitational redshift. Time dilation.
And just going through our notes, that seems to be it.
Time going slower.
So for now, I'm happy with this idea. What's going to happen with this track next is that I'm going to render out each individual track as an audio file, and I'm going to open it up in Reaper, and I'll be mixing it. I just heard something that I do want to fix, and that is this guy's final output here. This is just going to go to -infinite towards the end so that it goes to silence. Otherwise, it keeps on ringing up until the exact end, and we don't want that. We want at the end of our track everything to be silent. But other than that, this is what I wanted to do for today. I'm probably gonna get off and I'm gonna go do some more atmospheres. But without streaming, as I said, it's just a lot nicer. Even though I'm a little bit less productive, it's a little bit more fun. And I feel like for today, having done 4 hours of streaming, that's enough. And yeah, this is going to be it then. If there's anything you still want to say, if there's anything you want to ask, then I'll wait 2 more minutes for anybody to catch up, if there are any questions, whatever. If not, then I'll be getting off and yeah, I'll see if I can maybe in the future again do another stream. I'll have to see. One of the annoying things about Ableton is I wanted to do everything in Ableton, right? So the creation of the project, I do that all in Ableton, and then I wanted to be able to render out each individual track as a waveform, and then just load all of the waveforms into an Ableton project. But Ableton reads files from disk as they play, and be working from an external hard disk. That's just the way I like to work. So I can basically unplug my hard disk, my USB hard disk, plug it into my laptop, and I'll have all of the projects with all of my plugins and all of my samples running there. The downside is you cannot play a lot of samples at the same time, and Ableton just goes completely crazy, doesn't like it. So instead I need to use Reaper, which is a good DAW for that kind of thing. It was built as a DAW for mixing and recording, not as a live performance DAW, so it's built differently, and it just opens up samples and I press play and everything just plays. That's really nice. But yeah, I'm not seeing any questions, I'm not seeing any comments, any chat messages. I'm going to end the stream here today. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you had fun looking at atmospheres together with me, looking at this production together with me. I'm glad I got to finish this song, at least the idea, and I'm probably going to go over it one more time in the future, but that's something I'll do in private because that's not really interesting, it's just detail work at that point. But I'm pretty happy with the idea, how it turned out, so I'm happy with today's stream. I hope you're as well, and yeah, that's going to be it. I hope to see you